Hello, Scorpio. I'm glad you're here. If this message has found you, it's because something within you is already stirring quietly but unmistakably. You may not have the words for it yet, but there's a part of you that knows a chapter is closing and something far more authentic is beginning to unfold. This isn't a random shift, and it's not a momentary emotional wave. This is the start of a deep and necessary transformation, a kind of soul movement that doesn't ask for your permission because it's already been written into your spiritual contract long before now. What's happening isn't about fixing or improving yourself, it's about removing what never truly belonged. The universe isn't pushing you to become someone else, Scorpio. It's guiding you to return to the parts of yourself that have been buried beneath survival, control, and silence. For too long, you've known how to navigate the shadows with strength and solitude, but now you're being asked to step forward. Not with force, not with defense, but with truth. And that truth isn't loud or showy. It's the kind of truth that lives in your bones, in your instincts, in the quiet, knowing that you're meant for more than just enduring. This process may feel like shedding skin you've worn for years. It may feel raw, unfamiliar, even painful at times. But this unraveling is sacred. It's not chaos.it's the clearing of space. And in that space, a more honest version of you is emerging. The version of you who no longer needs to hide, who no longer fears being seen, who no longer sacrifices depth for safety. So in this reading, I'm going to walk with you through this turning point. I'll show you what's unfolding beneath the surface, what's rising on your horizon, and how to move through it all with integrity, self-respect, and unwavering trust in your own timing. Let's begin. One of the first and most profound shifts you'll notice, Scorpio, is the quiet dismantling of who you thought you had to be. This is not a collapse.it's a liberation. The false identities you've constructed over time, the masks you've worn to stay protected, the armor you've built to survive, a world that never quite knew how to hold your depth, all of it begins to fall away not through force, but because your soul is ready to stop hiding. This is the part of your transformation that asks for your full presence, your full honesty. You may feel like you're being unraveled from the inside out, but what's really happening is that the old scaffolding, the one that helped you survive, is being gently removed so that the real structure of who you are can rise. That version of you is raw, yes, but also wise. Unfiltered, but powerful. No longer performing strength, but embodying it. And in this state, you're not weaker. You're finally grounded in your own truth. You stop needing to prove, to explain, to justify. You begin to understand that vulnerability isn't exposure.it's clarity. It's coming home to yourself without apology. This is also when your relationship with power begins to shift, especially around money, self-worth, and influence. For so long, Scorpio, you've known how to create in the dark. You've thrived in spaces others were afraid to enter. But now something deeper is being asked of you. This isn't just about increasing your income or reaching some external measure of success. This is about reclaiming your inner economy. Your ability to generate value, to hold wealth, to circulate energy in a way that is spiritually clean and emotionally aligned. What begins to transform here is not just your financial situation, but your beliefs about what you deserve, how energy flows, and where true power resides. The scarcity stories, the ones you inherited, the ones you internalized, start to lose their grip. And in their place, you begin to see money not as something to chase or fear, but as a reflection of how willing you are to be in full energetic exchange with the world. You'll find that as you shed those limiting beliefs, ideas and opportunities begin to arrive with unexpected precision. People will be drawn to invest, not just in your work, but in your vision, in your presence, and the energy you hold. And more importantly, you'll stop settling for crumbs because something within you will finally believe without question that you are worthy of more. Not because of what you produce or how much you push, but because of who you are when you are fully unapologetically yourself. This kind of financial awakening doesn't come from strategy alone.it comes from alignment. And the more you step into this new embodiment of self-trust and clarity, the more naturally abundance begins to find its way to you. Not in a dramatic flood, but in a steady, sustainable current that mirrors the calm power you're finally allowing yourself to carry. This is no longer about control.it's about resonance. And when you are resonating at the frequency of self-respect, sovereignty, and inner truth, the world can't help but respond in kind. In the realm of your work and calling, Scorpio, what once felt important will begin to lose its grip on you, not out of failure or disappointment, but because your soul is beginning to speak more clearly than ever before. The outer structures of success, the recognition, the title, the external validation, will start to feel hollow if they are not aligned with something deeper. You may find yourself questioning goals that once lit a fire within you, only to realize they were built more on survival than truth, more on proving than embodying, and that questioning isn't a setback, it's a portal. Because beneath the surface of all that striving is the quiet voice of your soul calling you back to what actually matters. The work that feels real, the contribution that feels sacred, the direction that may not make perfect sense to others, but makes your body exhale in relief. When you stop gripping the steering wheel so tightly, when you loosen your hold on how things are supposed to unfold, a new kind of clarity emerges. Not one written in logic or spreadsheets, but in intuitive knowing. You'll begin to recognize opportunities not by how shiny they look on the outside, but by how deeply they resonate with who you are becoming. This is when vocation stops being something you chase and becomes something that moves through you. You stop asking, what should I do with my life? And begin to ask, what is ready to be born through me? And from that question, direction becomes inevitable. Aligned paths open not because you forced them to, but because you finally made space for what was always meant to arrive. As this internal reorientation takes place, your relationships begin to reflect it, sometimes with a gentle unfolding and other times with a quiet collapse. Connections that were built on pretense performance or emotional imbalance will begin to dissolve. Not because you wish them harm, but because they no longer belong in the energetic ecosystem of your rebirth. Scorpio, you have always loved deeply, but that depth has often come at the cost of self-abandonment or emotional exhaustion. You've poured yourself into people who couldn't meet you there, trying to heal what was never yours to carry. And now, that pattern is ending, not in anger but in grace. Because as you step further into your own wholeness, you simply will not have the capacity to sustain anything that feels false. The masks drop, the contracts end, and what remains is what is real. Relationships built not on expectation but on resonance. You will begin to magnetize connections that are attuned to your soul frequency, people who meet you with presence, with truth, with reciprocity. If you are in a relationship, this transformation may deepen the bond in ways you didn't think possible, peeling back layers of distance and helping both of you show up more honestly. Or it may expose what's been hidden, asking you to release something that once felt essential but is now quietly complete. Either way, the outcome is the same healing. Not the kind that comes wrapped in romantic resolution, but the kind that comes from knowing you're finally choosing yourself. Not from ego, but from wisdom. You will no longer sacrifice your emotional truth for the comfort of others. You will no longer shrink to be chosen. This is the era of conscious connection for you, Scorpio, where your love is no longer about merging and losing yourself, but about standing whole and being met. And in that kind of love, whether it's friendship, partnership, or kinship, you will find a depth that doesn't deplete, but nourishes. Because now you are no longer seeking completion through another. You are meeting them from a place of completion within yourself. As you continue to move through this sacred unraveling, Scorpio, something within you will begin to awaken that feels ancient, instinctual, and deeply familiar. It's your intuition, but not as a vague hunch or passing thought. It becomes a guiding force, a living presence, something you can feel in your body before your mind even catches up. And for you, this isn't new. It's a remembering. You've always had this gift, the ability to read between the lines, to sense what's unspoken, to feel the undercurrent before it reaches the surface. But what's changing now is your relationship to that gift. No longer something you second guess or explain away. Your intuitive knowing becomes central. It becomes the compass by which you begin to navigate decisions, boundaries, timing, and truth. There will be moments when the path ahead doesn't make sense logically, but your body will know, your energy will say yes, or it will pull back. And the more you trust that, the more aligned your life becomes. You will begin to see clearly what is real and what is performative, what is rooted in truth and what is merely distraction. This kind of clarity cannot be taught. It rises from within, when you stop outsourcing your power and begin listening to the deep silence that has always spoken to you when the world grows loud. You're no longer looking for a teacher outside of you. You are becoming one for yourself and eventually for others who are also learning how to trust their own inner voice. And from that quiet center, from that deepened connection to spirit, something else begins to emerge. Your creativity, not necessarily in the traditional sense of paintbrushes or poetry, though those may call to you too, but creativity in its truest form, the act of giving shape to what lives within. Scorpio, you are the sign of transmutation, of alchemy, of birthing something radiant out of what others would discard. And now that capacity begins to come alive in new ways. The pain you've carried, the grief you've swallowed, the beauty you've been too afraid to show, it all starts to rise to the surface, asking to be moved, to be expressed, to be turned into something that can breathe outside of your body. Whether it becomes art, healing, leadership, or something entirely your own, this expression will not be a performance. It will be a sacred offering made possible because you chose to stay with your own darkness long enough to understand it. You will no longer fear what you feel. You'll know how to work with it, how to shape it, how to make meaning out of it without losing yourself in the storm. And the more you allow that creative force to move through you, the more whole you will feel. Not because the pain disappears, but because it finally has somewhere to go. This is the essence of your rebirth, Scorpio. You are not being asked to rise above your past or pretend it never happened. You are being asked to bring it with you, not as a burden, but as a source of power. The wounds, the longings, the parts of you that once felt too much, they become the raw materials for something sacred. You create light not by rejecting your shadow, but by integrating it. And in doing so, you become the living embodiment of the truth. You've always known that healing is not about erasing what hurt you. It's about becoming someone who can hold it all and still create beauty, still offer truth, still choose love. As this transformation unfolds, one of the quietest yet most powerful shifts will occur in how you move through the world and how the world begins to respond to you. Scorpio, you won't have to strive for visibility or force your presence into rooms where your soul doesn't belong. You won't need to dress your truth up in charisma or effort just to be noticed. In fact, it's your stillness, your emotional depth, and your unwavering authenticity that will become your most magnetic qualities. People will begin to feel your energy before you even speak. They'll notice something different, not loud or flashy, but undeniable. And what they're sensing is your coherence, the way you've come into alignment with yourself. The way you carry both your shadow and your light without apology, without needing to be anything other than who you are. You will become a point of gravity, a steady center in a world addicted to noise. Not because you're trying to lead, but because you've learned how to follow your truth so consistently that others naturally begin to look to you for guidance. This isn't the kind of influence that's built through popularity or persuasion. It's the kind that's born in silence. Refined through your own lived experience, earned through your own healing, and offered without needing recognition. You become, in many ways, a modern-day oracle, a soul who remembers what others have forgotten, a mirror for those who are just beginning to hear the voice of their own intuition. Your presence will speak what words cannot. And while not everyone will understand you, the ones who do, the ones who are meant to walk beside you, will find themselves drawn to your frequency with an almost sacred familiarity. This is the social evolution you are stepping into. Not a performance, but a quiet resonance that calls the right people, the right collaborations, and the right circumstances into your orbit. You don't need to sell yourself anymore. You simply need to stand in what is real. Because when you do, the world rearranges itself to meet you there. And in that space, Scorpio, your life becomes not just a reflection of who you are, but a source of inspiration for what others are still remembering how to become. Like an old soul waking up in a chaotic world, you won't need to raise your voice to be heard. You will simply live your truth. And that in itself will be enough to shift the energy around you. Scorpio, the future isn't something you need to chase. It's not a distant point you're racing toward, nor a finish line you have to earn. It is already moving toward you steadily, rhythmically, like a tide that knows exactly when and how to arrive. It comes not through control or striving, but through attunement, through the dreams that leave echoes in your chest, the synchronicities that brush across your day like whispers, the inner nudges that don't always make sense but refuse to be ignored. This future, your future, isn't a concept. It's a frequency, and it's already seeping into your present moment, inviting you to clear space, to soften your grip, and to trust that what is meant for you will never require you to betray yourself in order to receive it. But in order to meet what is coming, you must be willing to release what no longer lives. And I say that with reverence because I know how deeply you've loved, how long you've held on, how fiercely you've protected even the most wounded parts of your story. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, abandoning, or discarding. It means honoring what served its purpose and allowing it to return to the earth. You are not meant to carry the ashes of every old version of yourself. You are meant to rise from them. And right now, you are being asked to shed the outdated skins, the inherited fears, the survival roles that were never yours to keep. Because what is ahead of you, what is already arriving, requires space, requires breath, requires your full unguarded presence. This is not the kind of change that tweaks or improves what was. This is the kind that destroys in order to resurrect. It's not comfortable, but it's sacred. You did not come here to live a quiet, diminished life. You did not come here to blend in, to silence yourself for the comfort of others, or to live in fear of your own depth. You came here to live fully and truthfully. You came here to feel the full spectrum of this human experience, to walk through the fire and come out carrying wisdom, not wounds. You came here to hold your darkness with tenderness and your light with humility, knowing that both are part of your power. And above all, you came here to transform. Not just once, but many times, in many ways, each time becoming more of yourself than you were before. So if you feel like something is dying within you, let it. If you feel called to close a chapter even without full closure, close it anyway. And if something wild and unfamiliar is rising in its place, a truth, a longing, a vision you've never dared to voice, then honor that too. Because you, Scorpio, are not here to live half alive. You are here to live like someone who has touched the edge, who has broken open, who has known the darkness intimately, and who now walks forward not untouched but unafraid. You are here to live like someone who has died and come back stronger. And in this rebirth, there is no turning back. Only rising. Only remembering. Only becoming the one you were always meant to be.